The team coverage of that tragedy at a Georgia school. 4 people were killed and 9 injured after a 14-year-old student opened fire at his high school.
And police say that the gunman was confronted by a school resource officer before surrendering. NBC's Bree Jackson reports from Washington this morning. So Bree, what do we know about the suspected shooter?
Good morning, Danita, Dave. So Georgia authorities say that the 14-year-old gunman was interviewed in connection with online threats to carry out a school shooting last year. They say he denied making the threats, and at that time, there was no probable cause to arrest him.
Fear and heartbreak rippling through Winder, Georgia, after a 14-year-old gunman opened fire at Apalachee High School, killing 2 students, 2 teachers, and injuring at least 9 others.
Everybody was like calling 911 and their moms, and we could still hear like the screaming and shooting outside, and it's just scary.
I feel sorry for the kids that they've had to experience such evil.
Law enforcement identifying the shooter as Colt Gray, a student at the school. Authorities say he used an AR platform-style weapon.
He will be charged with murder and he will be tried as an adult.
Police are interviewing the teen and investigating a possible motive. Georgia's governor sending condolences.
This is everybody's worst nightmare.
Presidential candidates echoing that sentiment. Former President Trump writing online, "These cherished children were taken from us far too soon by a sick and deranged monster." During a New Hampshire rally, Vice President Harris called for legislative action to curb gun violence.
It's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless.
President Biden urging Republicans to work with Democrats in Congress, writing in a statement, "Enough is enough." Mourners holding on tight to their loved ones as another community impacted by a mass shooting grieves.
And investigators have interviewed the teen shooter and say it's still unknown if he had specific targets. Danita?
Well, Bree, the suspect was questioned last year about making some threats against the school. What more can you tell us about that?
So the suspect was 13 at the time when he was questioned in connection with those online threats against the school, and he did deny making them. His father said he had hunting guns, but the teen had no access to them, and the school was told to monitor the student.
All right, Bree Jackson reporting live from D.C. for us this morning. Thank you, Bree.
Well, when something tragic like this happens, the news is everywhere, television, the internet, and on social media. So what should we tell our children after a school shooting? Candace Hare joins us now with advice from an expert.
Yes, Dave, it's such a difficult conversation to have with our children, but 3 News spoke with Kem Trump, who helps create school safety plans with districts across the nation. He says there are 2 things that parents need to tell their children after a school shooting. First of all, he says it's important for parents to tell children that schools are safe and that adults are working to keep them safe every day. The second thing he says that's important to tell your children is that it's okay to talk to school leaders. He says the #1 way law enforcement become aware of a possible attack at a school is when students come forward. But in order for that to happen, the student has to feel comfortable opening up.
We find that kids will actually go forward and tell an adult they trust if they know that the adult will maintain their confidentiality and that adult that they trust will follow through and do something.
Now, safety experts tell 3 News it's important for parents to make sure their students know how to report concerns at their school and how to do so anonymously.
Yeah, communication with your children, very important here. All right, Candace, thank you.